Hi, I'm Kayla, a reference librarian at Massanutten Regional Library. Today is the start of Women's History Month, so let's talk about some books about women. By Her Own Design by Piper Huguley. This is a book about Anne Lowe, the Black designer responsible for Jackie Kennedy's wedding dress. Lowe was a designer known to the richest families in the social register, where she was commonly referred to as their best-kept secret. The book opens with Anne standing in her shop in New York after a pipe busted open and destroyed the dresses meant for the Kennedy wedding. 6 days before the wedding, Lowe successfully remade the dresses with the help of some women from her church. Lowe learned to sew from her mother and grandmother, who encouraged her to make a career out of it. While she did manage to do that, life was certainly not easy for her. She married a man in his 40s at the age of 12 and had a baby around 15. Her mother and grandmother warned her against both of these things, but in both cases, Anne thought that the decisions she was making would allow her to be seen as an adult by her family and to help make dresses. Anne's dreams are put on hold during her time in this marriage, but a wealthy woman from Tampa sees Anne in a store and offers her an incredible opportunity to make dresses for Florida's elite. Anne faces racism her whole life and deals with quite a bit of loss. This book looks at how she fought back against what was expected of her to become the designer that she was. I really enjoyed this book. Parts of it could be a bit difficult to read at times, but it was a fascinating look at this woman's life. I had not heard of Anne Lowe before reading this book, and after finishing it, I definitely wanted to know more. The Queens of Animation, the untold story of the women who transformed the world of Disney and made cinematic history by Nathalia Holt. This book looks at the women who created movies at Walt Disney Studios starting during the golden age of movies. While the book focuses on many different women, the women written about the most are Bianca Majoli, Grace Huntington, Sylvia Holland, Retta Scott, and Mary Blair. Bianca was the first woman hired into the story department, and the treatment she received from the men in the department was appalling. All of the women were treated in a very similar way. The treatment slowly got slightly better until World War II came around and the studio went on strike. Men accused women of taking jobs from them, and the environment once again became hostile. Throughout the book, the women have had a major goal of changing how female characters were depicted on screen. Read to find out if they felt they were successful. Movies talked about throughout the book include Snow White, Fantasia, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Bambi, Cinderella, Peter Pan, 101 Dalmatians, Sleeping Beauty, The Little Mermaid, The Lion King, Mulan, Pocahontas, Frozen, and many more. I'm a huge Disney fan, so I was really excited to read this. I've been listening to this as an audiobook, and I highly recommend reading it that way. The narrator is wonderful, and music played at different times definitely makes me think of Disney. This is a topic that I didn't really know anything about. While learning about these women and the problems they faced in animation, I'm also learning about the process of filmmaking and different events in history that I didn't know about. If you're interested in cinematic history or Disney, you should definitely check this book out. And now for our last two books, Rejected Princesses, Tales of History's Boldest Heroines, Hellions, and Heretics by Jason Porath, and Princesses Behaving Badly, Real Stories from History Without the Fairy Tale Endings by Linda Rodriguez McRobbie. Both of these books focus on many women. Princesses Behaving Badly looks at 30 women broken into categories of warriors, usurpers, schemers, survivors, partiers, floozies, and madwomen. Women mentioned throughout the book include Hatshepsut, who ruled Egypt, Wu Zetian, who ruled China, Lucrezia Borgia from Renaissance Italy, and Franziska, who might be better known as Anna Anderson, a woman who claimed she was the lost princess Anastasia Romanov. McRobbie's stories all have little additions to the end that add on to the story or provide information about a time period or similar women. While the women in Princesses Behaving Badly are almost all actual princesses, the women in Rejected Princesses are not all royalty. This book looks at nearly 100 women, some of which are from mythology or legends. They are not categorized in any way. Some of the women mentioned in this book are Florence Nightingale, Harriet Tubman, Wilma Rudolph, Empress Theodora, Josephine Baker, Boudica, and Elizabeth Bathory. Let's look at an example. I'm interested in the story of Elizabeth Bathory. We have beautiful illustrations that go along with each story. Ratings are given for each story so you know what to expect as far as maturity level, violence, abuse, and more. This story is at the top of the maturity level and includes several tough topics. This is one of the longer stories in the book, but most are only a couple pages. The story ends with notes about why the author illustrated the picture how he did. Not all stories have this, but it's interesting to read why Porath did what he did with the illustration. In my opinion, princesses behaving badly looked at women who were maybe not quite as well known, where rejected princesses had a good mix of well-known women and women who were not as well known. McRobbie's book has stories that are a bit more detailed, while Porath highlights the achievements or terrible things done. Both do provide excellent bibliographies at the end for anyone wanting to know more. Both of these books have sent me down the rabbit hole, wanting to know more about all of these different women. Those are all of our books about women today. Make sure to stop by the library to check out more books about real and fictional women. Until next time, happy reading!